Thank you for joining me to talk about empowering users with a Streamlit code generator app. Like Matt said, I am from the City of Tacoma. My name is Nicole Edwards. I'm a data architecture manager for the City of Tacoma up in Washington. I love learning, and I really love helping other people learn. But I especially love when I can get someone to try to learn something that they find intimidating, like writing code. So sometimes I can get somebody to try this new thing by giving them the confidence and encouragement to try out that new thing. Other times, I can do it by giving them the motivation or a really compelling reason to try out the new thing. And still other times, I can do it by creating a tool, like today's topic, that gives them the ability to make it easier to try out that new thing. And I'm really glad that you've all stopped by to check this out, because if you take this and you share it with your users to use, that means we have that many more people that are gonna try out something that they might find intimidating. So my agenda is pretty straightforward today. I'm gonna set it up with the problem that I was gifted at work, and then I'll share with you the solution that I developed to address this problem. Next, I'll talk through some of the extra benefits that we saw through the implementation of this solution. And then looking forward, I'll share how you can implement this solution at your organization if you'd like. Now, my problem that I was gifted at work centered around two questions. The first being, how can we accelerate development of Streamlit apps for common use cases instead of starting from scratch from each one? And at the same time, wouldn't it be cool if we could empower our business users that don't know how to code to create those same apps? These two questions came up when my teammate Hannah asked me for a Python template to create table edit apps. So these are apps that allow users to edit or enrich data that's in a Snowflake table. And Hannah had identified that at the City of Tacoma, this is a common use case for Streamlit. So she wanted a faster way of developing these apps. And it quickly became apparent that a really related and similarly common use case is a form collection app. So this is one where a user would fill out an app, or fill out a form within the app, and it would submit a brand new record to a table rather than editing data that's already in a table. So both of these use cases were common enough that we needed a faster and hopefully more user-friendly way of developing them. But going back to Hannah's original ask of a Python template and considering how we could design one that would cover both of those use cases, but also allow users to do some ability of customization to the apps that they're creating, it occurred to me that a Python template just wasn't the optimal solution. And that's primarily because editing Python code would be so error-prone. I think you would all understand this. Something as simple as a space or an indent in the wrong place can cause the code to either not function as we're expecting it to, or even more likely, not function at all. So I needed a more error-proof solution. And I wonder if you would believe that the solution I came up with for this allows any user to create these types of apps with their customizations. Not only do they never have to write any code, they also never have to edit any code. Let me go ahead and show you. Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry. Tech. So my solution is a Streamlit and Snowflake code generator app. And I'm sorry, I'm not brave enough to do a live demo, so we're just gonna live with screenshots of the app here, and I'm gonna show you how it works to use this code generator app. The first thing we need to do is choose which type of app we want to create. So we'll start out with the table edit app and see what options and customization inputs we have for creating this type of app. The first option that we have is whether or not we'd like to include a welcome message for our user. I can't touch the keyboard. So there is a little checkbox there if we would like to include that welcome message for our users at the top of the new app we're creating. We simply check that box. Next, we need to provide the fully qualified name of our source data. So this is the table where the data that our users will be editing or enriching lives. And if our users don't know what a fully qualified table name is, we've got a little hint there that shows them what that looks like. Next, we need to provide the fully qualified name of the target table. And this is the table that our app is going to write to. This field will actually default with the source table's name, but underscore edited appended to the end of that. And we could stick with that default if we'd like, or we can change it if we prefer something else. Next, we can choose specific columns from our source table that we want to act as filters within the new app that we're creating. And our users will use that within our new app to locate the records that they want to edit or enrich. Lastly, we can choose columns from our source table that we want to disallow the editing of and not let our users make any changes to those columns. And for those last two options, these will be drop-downs that will auto-populate with the column names from our source table. So once we've created or input all of our options, we would click the Generate Code button, and we have two sets of code returned to us. The first is the SQL to create our target table. So it's going to use that target table name that we put in for our selection, and it's going to match the definition of our source table, but we'll add 4 additional columns for auditing and administrative purposes. All we need to do is copy that code, run it in a Snowflake worksheet, and our table is then available for our app to write to. The second set of code returned to us is the Python to create our app itself. This we would again simply copy, paste into a brand new Streamlit app, and our app is ready to go. So let's take a look at an example table edit app. On this, I have included the welcome user message, so I get a welcome Edwards message at the top of the app when I access it. And I have a drop-down that I can use to filter the data frame and locate records that I'd like to edit. In the data frame below, I can edit all of these columns except for potential owner ID, which is disabled from editing. And I can make notes or click the exclude button. I would click Submit once I've made my desired edits, and those records will be written to the target table that's defined in our apps code. Now let's go back and look at our options and inputs for creating a form collection app. I'm just noticing that drop-down looks wrong in that. So in a form collection app options, we start again by choosing whether or not we'd like to include a welcome message for our users at the top of our app page. We'd click that, check that box if we would like to. And then we're going to provide the fully qualified name of our target table that we want our app to write to. Next, we define our form fields and data types, how many fields we'd like, the name, and the data type of each. This will actually drive the table definition for our target table. And so a note here is that at the City of Tacoma, we prefer the naming convention of all caps and underscores for our columns. So this will actually rename those fields to match that naming convention. I point this out to highlight that this tool can actually provide governance over your environment as well, so it's an additional benefit. Once I've made all my choices, I would again click the Generate Code button, and again, I'd have two sets of code returned to me. The first being that SQL code to create my target table. I would run this in that Snowflake worksheet, and my table will then be available for the app to write to. Again, the second set of code returned is the Python to create my app itself. I'd copy this, paste it into a brand new Streamlit app as before, and my app will then be available to use. So here's an example, straightforward, super simple form collection app. Again, I have that welcome Edwards message at the top, and a very simple form a user would fill out, click that submit button, and that record would be written to our target table. So some of the extra benefits and impacts that we see from this solution, in addition to solving the problem that I alluded or talked about in my setup, the first is that this tool produces the same code for everyone. So this gives us consistent approach and a coding structure across our teams and across our organization. Next, because it gives working code for everyone, then we see a reduction in errors and an increase in user confidence, and therefore an increase in adoption. And then lastly, this is my favorite part, this gives a foundation for experimentation. So now it's not scary. I have something that works. I can take it and I can try to customize it more, try to add more features, try to add more customizations and things that I might think might be cool to my new app. And if my experiments don't work out, that's okay. I can revert back to that working code. So we've now made that available for all of our users to experiment with. So looking forward, this is how I would suggest you might look at implementing this or a similar solution at your organization. The first is to dive into Streamlit if you haven't already. There are so many use cases, and I think more creative ones being discovered all the time. I know my team and I have really enjoyed discovering more and more use cases, and also, honestly, some of its limitations. Next, discover the common needs in your organization. What use cases are common enough that they might be good candidates to add to a code generator app? And lastly, start small, but think big. You can grab my Python code at this GitHub repo with this QR code, and from there, I would add more features and use cases as you learn what your users would like. They will be great idea generators for you, and I think you might be able to use some of the code that they develop in their experimenting to go back and enhance your code generator app.